Alrighty, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Bully Ball, a 49ers podcast. We chose Bully Ball because, that's the game plan the 49ers have implemented these past few years with Shanahan. And who knows, coming into the future, could possibly be more of a game plan in the coming years. We'll get into the roster, kind of break down what the 49ers have, maybe give a little preview into the offseason, see what players we're looking at, what players are on the squad, how we can improve. Give a little recap of the season, and then we'll go from there. Coaching changes, all that type of stuff. Kick off the off season. Alrighty. So I'm Alex Almendarez and my co-host.
Joseph Almendarez. We're
Thank you.
brothers.
Yes.
Alex is over in Spain in the Navy, so
Yep.
time zone little weird when we start going live, but we'll make it work. I'm out in Florida, so we're still 49er fans at heart,
Yep.
just far
I'm nine
away.
hours. I'm 9 hours ahead of when the Niners play in Pacific Standard Time. So if I got to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning to watch them play and go to work the next day, get it done. We do it. Alrighty. Let's touch on some of these coaching changes. Wes Welker, he left for a lateral position with the Dolphins, and I think that's going to have a decent effect on, Debo, Ayuk, Juwan Jennings coming on late in the season. Because in an interview, Debo was talking about something about Mike Daniels and how Mike Daniels helped Shanahan in the big picture. And he compared it to how Wes Welker helped Debo. So we'll see what type of impact that's going to have on the receiving core.
I did hear a rumor that Jordan Matthews might step into that position. He's currently on one of those future contracts, but I saw someone on Twitter say they're thinking he's going to transition, and that the whole reason he was actually on the team this year was just to be a coach. So
Yeah, that's interesting,
who
because he
knows?
is playing tight end. He was on the practice squad as a tight end, converted receiver to tight end. So that can be interesting. That was I saw another possible replacement could be Leonard Henkerson. He's currently a coach on the team in like a smaller role right now. But he was a former receiver. He coached receivers at Stephen F. Austin in 2019 through 2020, and then at UMass in 2018. I believe he was a former Shanahan receiver too, so he could probably plug in there, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think a lot of these open spots on the team are going to be filled by people in the building already.
Yeah,
Shanahan has a good, he brings guys in into lower positions, builds them up. And you've
yeah.
seen that throughout all these years, all these coaches leaving.
See, and the thing that I thought too when they said Vic Fangio was coming in for a consultant role, possibly. I mean, now the recording today is on 13th of February. I saw a report from Adam Schefter saying that Vic Fangio wasn't going to coach at all. But let's say if he did end up coming in, that could kind of be like a plug and play. D'Amico leaves next year. Vic Fangio comes, fits right in, defensive coordinator for a couple years, and you're back and rolling. Those defensive schemes are different because Fangio runs a 3-4 and D'Amico runs a 4-3, so that would make Bosa like a stand-up linebacker, like a Alden Smith, Ahmad Brooks type role. But a good coach makes it work. You
Yeah,
have good
I think
players,
he
good
could
coach, it
adapt
makes it
it.
work. Yeah, so do I. But that's
I
the thing.
do.
Like once D'Amico leaves, when Sala left, everybody that whole year is like, "Oh, D'Amico will just step up and fit in defensive coordinator." This year, who? I haven't heard anybody
For offense.
for defensive coordinator.
Oh
If
yeah,
like
I
next year
think
once D'Amico leaves.
I think now that Shanahan saw, he's getting those big offers, I think he's going to have someone in place that he knows is
Yeah.
going to be able to step in next year. But I do think after seeing all these coaches changes, D'Amico staying one more year, it's a need because now the turnover is going to be insane.
Yep. Yeah. John Embry also left, tight ends coach for the Niners, left to the Dolphins. So that's two coaches already that have gone to the Dolphins with Mike McDaniels. I mean, John Embry was fired previously. It's not like he just jumped to the Dolphins, and was still a coach on the Niners, so he was fired. But still interesting to see, the Niner coaches going to the Dolphins with Mike McDaniels. That's interesting. And we
I
can touch
do
on the
I do
players that
think,
might go with them too.
yeah, Kittle was very heartfelt about that. And
Yeah.
people have been saying the rumors. I don't think he's going to be leaving. It's an interesting one.
Yeah. I saw on Twitter, I think it might have been John Embry's daughter commented on the initial tweet and said that, like, Kittle's not okay with it. And that was coming from an inside source, she said. Could that have actually been his daughter? Who knows? But it is interesting to see how it's going to play out.
It is.
Yep. Richard Hightower also left for a lateral position to the Bears, which was kind of surprising, in my opinion. What did you think about that move?
I personally had a grudge with the Hightower all season. Every single game, we have a group chat. Alex, my dad, and me. In every game, we would do the short kickoffs, and I'm like, why are we doing that? They're getting to the 35, 40-yard line every time. And then with all the other issues on special teams, I'm fine with that move. I'm glad he
Yeah.
left. I think our special teams needs a revamp back to it needs more priority placed on it, as
Hmm.
Green Bay could tell you.
I think interesting thing why Niner fans might be a little hurt about it or like surprised is because you always go off your last impression. Like your last impression was of the punt recover team blocking that punt, scoring a touchdown, which inevitably won us that NFC game against the Packers. So, I could see why Niner fans are hurt because that's the last game that they saw. But all season it was a struggle. You remember against the Seahawks with that fake punt. Packers, they even had that fake punt, I believe, too, right? Or is that the Cowboys game?
I think it was the Cowboys.
Yeah, it might have been
It
when
might have
Josh
been it
Norman
might have
got
been the
burned.
Packers, yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Richard Hightower all year. Just towards the end, that one game, the player stepped up when he needed it to. So that's interesting. Yep. Let's see. What do you think about some of these rewards that happen? Nick Bosa getting 0 votes for comeback player of the year after he had, let's see, he had 4 forced fumbles, 21 tackles for loss, and 19 and a half sacks. That's including playoffs. What do you think about him getting 0 votes?
I can understand him getting 0 votes if it was only offensive players that got votes. But the fact that it was Derwin James, right?
Yep.
He got 1
Mhm.
vote.
Yep.
That's it's a little interesting. The
Yeah.
bias in
Yeah.
the voting system.
Yeah, that was extremely. I didn't expect him to win at all. Joe Burrow having a crazy season off that torn ACL. I mean, look at him in the Super Bowl, crazy. So I don't expect Nick Bosa to win, but he should have at least been in the consideration and got a couple of votes at the
Even
very
if he got
least.
the 1 vote that Derwin James got, fine with it. It's
Yeah,
just that was an interesting one.
yeah.
But one more coaching thing that I wanted to touch on. Remember, they brought in Anthony Lynn now
Mm.
as your assistant head coach. What do you think about that move?
I think that's a great move. You figure McDaniel's leaving, run game coordinator. Everybody said that he had a huge impact in the run game. I heard that he was responsible for the game plan on like Monday, Tuesdays, making that game plan for Shanny. But Anthony Lynn stepping in, he's had success. Melvin Gordon, where is he this last year with Detroit? You had DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. he's had success other places too. So I think it's a good fit. And I think it can help Shanny too with just take some of the stress away of being the head coach and the offensive coordinator, pull some responsibility for Anthony Lynn and kind of just alleviate some of that pressure. But I
I
heard
do think
go
that
ahead.
when they said Embry was the assistant head coach, I was surprised because it
Yeah.
never felt like someone was taking any pressure off during the games. When it came to crunch time, felt like Shanahan was just making those decisions off the top of his head. So
And that's why I really would have wished Vic Fangio would have came on for that consultant role at least, because prior head coach, he's coached in the biggest games in the Super Bowl. The Niners went to the Super Bowl with him as their defensive coordinator. He's made those big decisions on defense, and I feel like he really could have helped and been a good older voice for Shanny to bounce some ideas off, take some advice, things like that. But I don't think that's going to happen this year.
also with Anthony Lynn, he coached the Bills a couple years ago when they had Tyrod Taylor and LaShawn McCoy, and that was the number one rush offense in the league that year. So obviously, Trey's a different style, but it's a good, it's a good gauge of what type of run game you can have with
Yeah.
a more dynamic quarterback.
Yep. I agree. It's going to be interesting this year to see the very least. Do you have anything else on the coaching changes, anything like that?
I think the coaching changes, well, all in all the changes this year are going to paint the picture for you of the season, and it's going to tell you what the 49ers are trying to do. So, for example, bringing in Anthony Lynn, I think it's a big indicator of the running backs receiving more catches out of the backfield. They had DeAndre Swift this year, probably the most dynamic back out of the backfield, receiving one of them, not the most. Was Eckler there with Gordon back when he was with the
Mm,
Chargers?
I think so. But
Eckler
obviously
out of the
Eckler wasn't on
backfield.
the scene as he is now.
Yeah. And then
But
also LaShawn McCoy out of the backfield. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully they can implement some of that because you got Eli Mitchell, dynamic. That dude can receive, run the rock. He can do it all. He
I
gets a little
think they
bag.
didn't use him enough receiving
I
out of
agree.
the backfield.
Yep. Against the Rams, he had a couple catches though, and he looked good. He was big plays. So even with Debo coming out of the backfield, use him as a receiver out of the backfield because he is a wide receiver. He runs routes. He can dice up those outside linebackers, middle linebackers, nickel defenders. Things like that. He can dice those guys up.
I will say it was pretty upsetting to me that play action was never run when Debo was the back in the backfield.
Yeah, I agree. We'll touch on that a little bit about all the season recap type stuff. I also thought it was interesting. Shanny didn't get 0 vote. He got 0 votes for Coach of the Year. I was thinking about it. I thought that was shocking at first, but you figure it's going over the whole year. So we did start out at 3-5. 4 straight
Who got votes?
losses. I think it was Vrabel won it, Tennessee Titans head coach. And then I think Zach Taylor, Bengals head coach, got votes too. So I
I
know those two for sure.
Vrabel winning it is interesting. I would have saw Zach Taylor winning it and been like, yeah, that's deserved. But
Yeah.
Vrabel, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, they had a decent year. They were the first seed. They got bounced in the first playoff game that they played in, but they were the first seed, Lost Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Still made it somehow, which isn't crazy, but yeah. And another award, Debo getting 0 votes for Offensive Player of the Year. You figure he did make a whole new position He made a wide back. Really, like I thought that was kind of interesting. What do you think about it?
I think, like I said, the voting for these awards is just a little skewed. Like, I don't think people take into consideration what the players actually do for the teams. They just look at the stats.
Hmm,
Even
I
then,
agree.
still think Debo should have got some votes. But if you actually
Yeah,
look at the impact, how many games would the 49ers have won without Debo?
yeah, not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I can tell you that much. I thought. Do you have anything else for the rewards?
Um, no, like I said,
Alrighty.
it's a process. Needs to be changed.
Yeah. Ultimately, they don't weigh on anything. If anything, just more fuel to the fire. You know,
Exactly.
come back stronger next year. Um, I thought this was interesting as well. An interview with Rich Eisen, Trey Lance. He said he improved the most during the weeks that he started. With that being said, the Niners, we didn't win the Super Bowl. We lost NFC Championship. Should Trey have started all year? And then coming into the second year, he could have been, who knows where he could have been, what level. What are your thoughts?
I think it's good. I will say there were plenty of times throughout the year I was like, put him in. It's time, put him in. But Shanny, they stuck with the plan and it worked. Of course, every year you want to win the Super Bowl, but that doesn't make the season a lost season if you don't.
Yeah.
I do believe that you there's no more sitting Trey. You know what I mean? He's not going to get better without being on the field every week. But to say this was a bad season because he didn't start, you can't say that. They made it that far in the playoffs. Great run, almost a magical run if they make it to the Super Bowl. So it was a good season. Glad he got some action. Time to move
Yeah.
on to the next year.
Yeah. I agree. It was a great year, especially for the fans. We started 3-5 and thought it was over, thought it was a wrap. And then we ended up making it to the NFC Championship game. Crazy game in Dallas, crazy game, Green Bay, crazy Rams game, week 18. Like it was a great year. I wouldn't change any of it. I would not change any of it because that year gave us some moments that we'll probably remember for the rest of our lives.
A very frustrating year, but also
Yeah,
very, very fun. It made it fun.
definitely. Alrighty. So with you saying that Trey shouldn't sit another year, I know we were talking about in our group chat, and it sounded like you wanted Tom Brady if he was to possibly come back and play. Do you still believe getting Tom Brady and starting him over Trey another year would be the right move for the future?
So, yes, I did say that and I will stick with it. Listen, the 49ers in the past decade have had an opportunity to get Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. We also heard that there was a rumor years ago with Ben Roethlisberger. Look at the quarterbacks we've had in the past decade. You don't turn down, I mean, Ben, whatever, you turn that down, but you don't turn the other two down.
Caveat off that though, Big Ben during that time was in his prime,
He was.
and we had
But
Alex Smith with Singletary. Like,
yes.
you know,
But I'm just saying,
yeah, I get what you're
if
saying. Brady and yeah, Peyton Manning are on
we
like a different
saw
level.
Tom this past year look prime
His
in his old
best,
age, yes.
statistically, his best year.
Now, would I want Trey to sit another year? No, not ideal. But if you have an opportunity to get Tom Brady and it's not going to affect the future, other than like Trey, you gotta do it. I mean, if you do it and you win a Super Bowl, nobody's gonna say anything. They're gonna say, "Oh, they were geniuses." If you do it though, and then you win 8 games, don't make the playoffs. I mean,
So
it's one of those
what
things.
where would you have to end the season at to make that, like, to validate that move in your opinion? First round, second round, championship, Super Bowl. Where do we have to land to make that move a valid move, like a successful move?
For me, it would be a longer term, like destination of what I feel makes it a good move. Like, say, no matter how the season goes, right? Say Trey gets the year behind Tom, and then he comes out the next year, and that dude's MVP caliber because he's got to sit and learn from the GOAT. Nobody complains. Obviously,
Okay,
you're gonna have some fans saying he could have done that last year. Probably not. Who knows? Maybe. But I know the fans, if you bring Tom in and don't win a Super Bowl, they're gonna riot.
that's
That's just how it's gonna
interesting.
be.
Interesting that you say that because, like I said in that quote that I gave you from Trey's interview, he said he improved the most during the weeks that he started.
He said that, not
So
the other guy.
Trey Lance said that.
Uh,
That came straight from the mouth of Trey Lance, that he improved the most during the weeks that he actually started. So you sit him a year, who knows what he's going to learn? Jimmy sat behind Tom Brady, and he didn't come out an MVP caliber that next year when he came. I mean, came to the Niners, obviously he was playing at a different level, but who knows what sitting actually has? Who knows, like, if Jordan Love's going to be playing crazy after sitting behind Aaron Rodgers
he
for so many
wasn't.
years.
When he
Yeah,
did play, he
exactly.
wasn't. But like I said, obviously, yes, when you start, it's totally different. Your preparation's different. Like, of course, yeah, he's gonna get better with actual starting experience. But like I said, if Tom Brady wants to come, you bring him in. I don't care.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I also look into the financial side of things. I'm not a cap expert. I've just seen tweets on Twitter from the cap experts themselves. And so right now, I believe we're 5 million over the cap. So trade Jimmy, you're sitting at about 20 million under. If you get Brady, he's coming with like a 10 mil, 15 mil cap hit, right? So that's leaving you with 10 million left cap. And you got to re-sign players. You got to keep 3 to 4 million aside for draft picks. How do you think that affects the offseason if we were to get him?
Look at the Rams.
Yeah,
They make it work.
yeah, that is true.
Tom Brady's a $10 million cap hit from what I saw. They could make it work. It's gonna be harder, obviously, going to that hit from just having Jimmy off, but I think Tom's not coming back, so it is what it
Yeah.
is.
He said possibly. He recently said it's never say never. Who knows? I would say I would put the chances, if he was to come back, it would have to be with the 49ers.
You
That would
think even
I
though
would I
even
think
though
that's the
the
only way he comes back.
I
I
get
think
you.
I believe that's the only way he comes back to play in the NFL if it's for the 49ers. Yep.
I don't think he comes back.
Yeah. I don't think so either, but like I said, if he did, on the Niners. Alrighty. Do you have anything else to hit on those?
No, but I do have one thing I'd like to say.
Yeah.
The off season hasn't even started yet, and our fans are freaking out. Just calm down. It's a long off season. Trust in the team. We all
Mm-hmm.
get upset at them. I do. I know I do. I'm like, what are they doing? But they keep proving us wrong and taking us close to where we're trying to go. Just let it all play out first.
Yeah, I agree. There's teams that haven't been to the playoffs in 20 years, something crazy. Look at us. We've been to the NFC Championship game 2 out of the past 3 years. Super Bowl. We've had a very successful team since Shanahan has taken over. And you just got to trust the process. Stick with them. It might be rough. You're going to get mad. You're going to get frustrated, but just stick with it. Stick it out. It'll be worth it when Trey Lance is hoisting that Lombardi. I'll tell you that much.
Also, I would like to say, whether you're a Jimmy fan, whether you're a Trey fan, or you don't like either of them, give the guy a chance. Don't hate one player just because you like a different player.
No, I agree. Try to stay unbiased as possible. Alrighty, let's you want to break down this roster a little bit, kind of look what we have going on at the current moment?
Yeah, let's hop into it.
Alrighty.
Let me switch over. So, this was posted by David Lombardi on Twitter. Great reporter. And this is who is currently under contract for the 49ers at the moment. So let's take a look here. You can see, I'll just let you guys take a look at it real quick, but you can see the holes on offense. Juwan Jennings is an exclusive rights free agent, so he's most likely back. Do you know what that means exactly, exclusive rights?
I'm not sure, but I think we have the chance to like match anything that a team offers him or something like that.
And I know it's like a low cap hit type
Yeah.
of, yeah,
The
so
odds of
he's
him
back.
coming back are,
Yeah.
there are very high odds that he'll be back if the team wants him.
So to me, it looks like we still are going to need some receivers. We're going to have 3. We have all the ones on the future contracts, but you never know with them. Like, we don't know who they are yet.
Yeah.
I
I
think we
think.
need at
Go
least
ahead.
2, maybe 3 guys that are going to compete for the back end spots.
Yeah. I agree.
Running back, we're going to need 2 to 3 more guys on the 90-man roster. Both of our guys we have right now have some injury history, so I would look at bringing some people back there. QB, let's hear your thought about that.
I think you sent in our group chat, I remember a few weeks ago, you said that Trey Sermon and Aaron Banks were possibly drafted for this year with Trey Lance, Trey Sermon, Aaron Banks, really implementing that bully ball style because that's what Banks did. He was a run monster in college, pancaking dudes, going crazy. Trey Sermon, bigger back, running fools over. Trey Lance, big QB, can run, really bully that defense with that run, come around on a play action, get Trey out of the pocket, hit something short. I think that would be a great game plan for this year.
I agree. I agree. And then we look at the O-line. O-line, a lot of holes right now, right? Alex Mack might retire. We don't know yet. Lakin, he might get paid. He might leave,
The
We
Dolphins
know
have a
our
bunch
cap
of
isn't
cap
that good.
space,
Yep.
and the Dolphins got a bunch.
Right guard. I think free agency and the draft are going to tell us exactly how the 49ers feel about Aaron Banks. Like, let's say Lakin comes back, right? If they draft a guard early, what is that telling you about Aaron Banks?
Kicking the bucket,
Yep.
getting them
So,
out.
or let's say in free agency, they bring in a couple guys. We got to let the picture paint itself, and the 49ers are going to tell you how they feel about these people.
Yeah, I agree. Even McGlinchey's not a lock to come back to even what he was before. Not saying what he was before was even great at that. He tore
Yeah.
his quad, I believe, right?
Yeah, and I heard that
They,
that's a tough one, like to
yeah,
even play again from.
exactly. So he can come back at a level below what he was before. And that level that he was before wasn't even that great. Him getting bulldozed into Jimmy G. We've seen
Yeah.
that time and time again. So, that's interesting. I would definitely bring back we'll we'll look at the free
Yeah.
agents afterwards.
So let's scoot down to the defense. I'll let you go ahead and break down the defense.
Defense doesn't look too bad. Possibly the main free agent of the offseason, debatably, DJ Jones. Do you bring him back? And you'll have to bring him back on a multi-year deal. And it'll probably be pretty rich because he played very well this year for the 49ers. So, do you pay him? Do you not? Who knows? Because you're going to need a couple D tackles. You're going to need a couple
Yeah.
more D tackles because you can't bet on Kinlaw being there with him being hurt all the time. So you're going to need to bring some guys in. I think Deanne's pretty strong. Get rid of D Ford, But Ebukam stepped up late in the year. Omenahu, solid pickup for that 6th round pick. Solid. He played very well in my opinion when he did get the chance. Bosa is Bosa. So that looks good. Linebackers, I would look at you need to bring back Aziz.
Yeah, he's restricted.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting one. He could get paid. Dude was a
True.
beast.
Yep. What would you say if he had to get a decent little paycheck? Would you bring him back or would you run it with Fred and Dre? Because the nickel defense is what teams are running almost as a base now. You're not going to see 3 linebackers on the field at once very often. What do you think? Would you bring
Yeah.
him back or do you run it with Fred and Dre?
I would definitely bring him back. Dre was injured most of the year. Even when he came back, dealt with injuries, Aziz
Yep.
was consistent. At times, he looked like the best linebacker on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But that also might get him paid more than we can afford. So it's
Yep.
gonna be interesting. I'd bring him back though.
Alrighty. Looking at corners, corners have been they've been a priority that the Niners have needed to hit on for the past few off seasons, I think. But looking at Embry and Emmanuel Mosley, they played good for the most part until that last game. They kind of got torched a little bit, by Cooper Kupp, OBJ. They both had over 100 yards in that last game. But I think you could probably run it back with them, bringing in and then run Demo at nickel. I probably wouldn't bring back Juwan because he'll probably want a decent amount of money. We're not going to have that much cap. And he was getting burnt a lot out of the slot too. So let the young guy get it. Even if he struggles, stick with him, let him get through it. And then, he'll probably start looking like an Ambry Thomas type situation when he struggled but got better as the year went on. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you bring back Verrett and you still have Embry, you have Emmanuel Mosley, you have Verrett healthy. What 2 corners are you starting outside?
Outside?
Yep.
I mean, it depends, Jason Verrett, he looked like a top 5 corner. Was it 19 or 20?
2019, I believe.
Yeah.
Or no, it's 20.
It was 20, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, the man, he has injury history. He gets hurt often. Who knows? He might have lost a step.
True.
If you ask Croc, we love watching Croc.
Yep.
He says player development is what's important. He would probably say stick with Ambry and E-Man, but I personally, I don't think I would bring Verrett back, but I would bring in competition in the draft, and I would let the best corners play.
Yeah. I think it depends on what you can get Verrett back for. Can you get him back on another 1-year deal for something cheap? A couple mil, maybe something in that ballpark. But if not, then yeah, you got to let him walk. You can't depend on him, to provide you
Yeah.
with that solid play.
I think that's a big thing that the 49ers need to touch on. Obviously, injuries going to happen to every team. It's bound to happen. But the 49ers have guys that have a vast injury history. And, week 1, week 2, week 3 hits, right? And then you're down 3 or 4 starters. It's hard to recover from that. Sometimes it's better to have those slots filled by people that are actually going to be on the field. Because look at our running back situation last year, right? Raheem got hurt. What, first play? Was it the first play of the game?
I think it was like the second or third because he had like 2 rushes for 20 yards before he got
Yeah.
hurt.
And so we had cut a few good running backs
Gallman,
in the
Wayne
preseason.
Gallman.
And then we were looking for guys on the street to come in. That's not ideal. So it's definitely something to address.
And then move down to safety. You see Hufanga and Jimmy Ward. We'll touch on them in a second once we get down to these free agents.
All right. Special teams. How do you feel?
I already know your opinion on this one. I think Robbie's making a lot of money for a kicker. If we can shed some of that money and pick up a rookie free agent for cheap that has the same impact, let's do it because Robbie clutch in the playoffs, won us games in the playoffs against the Packers. But during the regular season wasn't the best. He did miss a few field goals during the season and was a little shaky at times. So if you can pick up a solid kicker, rookie, free agent, I would do it probably. I would do it.
He also mentioned
Wishnowsky.
retirement a couple times during the year, so you never know.
Yeah. Wishnowsky, I mean, that dude either bombs him or shanks him. So who knows? I mean, I would probably just keep him for now just because that's another, if you let him go, that's another thing you're going to have to look into. So,
and I'll be touching on that one heavily throughout draft season because those 30-yard punts when we're on our own 10-yard lines ain't doing it for me.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take a look into these free agents, the team free agents that we have. Alrighty. You go ahead. You can start us off.
All right, so we will touch on this quickly. Let's go with would you bring him back or wouldn't you? Laken Tomlinson.
Would.
I
You?
definitely would as well. It's going to depend on the price, though. He might be outpriced for us.
Let's do this, actually. Let's name the top 5 free agents that you should, on this list, that you would bring back.
All right.
And then we'll dive into them a little bit in a different episode.
So we'll do, top 5 we'll bring back and top 5 we would let go. Well, no,
right.
That one's speaks for itself. But I will say, you don't really have to mention the exclusive rights guys because they're more than likely back if we want them back. So go ahead. You go first.
All right. So 1 to 5, 1 being the highest priority to re-sign, and then 5 being the least amount. Still prioritized, but not as much. I would say 1 is Lakin. If you can get him back for a decent deal, you got to. 2, DJ Jones. Huge impact on defense with the stopping the run, big impact in my opinion. 3, Tom Compton, another one, because he did step up. He played well for most of the season after a rough start. He did get beat in the playoffs, but who knows what you can get at tackle right now, with
I agree.
McGlinchey, who knows what you're going to come back with. So 4, I would say I would say I was gonna say Brunskill, but he's restricted, so I'll say Arden Key at 4. But coming with the caveat with that one, he's probably gonna get paid. He had a good year this year. He's gonna want to get paid, so I would tread lightly on that one. And then the 5th, I would say JT Jaquaski Tart, under a lot of fire this offseason, man. But during the whole year, I listened to Eric Crocker in the Locked On 49ers podcast. And every week, a fan would have a question, what about the DBs? What about the corners? The corners, the corners, the corners. He said the corners aren't that bad. The safeties have been saving them. That's what it is. That's the safeties. They erase everything. He said, I would much rather have Emmanuel Mosley or Embry Thomas get hurt than Jimmy Ward or JT because they're erasers back there. And I agree because I don't think Hufanga could erase the back end of the field like JT did. Even though he's the strong safety, he still was back there. You'd see him breaking up passes, dropping interceptions. Doesn't need to be touched on, but still, he was in the right spot. So those would be my 5.
All right. My
What about
5,
you?
1, I would go with Lakin as well. We know offensive line is going to be a problem this year. It's going to be the first thing I would address, to be honest. You don't want to create more holes than you already have. Let's see. 2, I would also go DJ Jones. The dude is crucial to the defense, probably the most underrated piece on the defense. And also, the interior D-line depth is shot. Like, it's not there at the moment. You need him in there. Let's see. You said Tom Compton 3?
Yep.
I am probably going to go a different route. Obviously Aziz would be on my list, but he's restricted, so I'll keep him off.
Mm-hmm.
3, interesting. I'll go ahead and say Marcel Harris, underrated one.
Wow, Marcel Harris. That's a shocker.
The thing is the guy has versatility, special teams. He was a safety. He can play linebacker, and he played well this year when he had to step in at linebacker.
I guess
He
that
ca-
would,
he
in my
huh?
opinion, that would hinge on Aziz coming back or not. If Aziz doesn't come back, then yeah, Marcel. But if Aziz does come back, probably less for priority.
Yeah, I'm just saying for a depth piece. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? He could be. These last 3 aren't really like in any order. They're just kind of guys I would still bring back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one is going to be 2 people, but it's for the same reason. It would be Jordan Willis and Arden Key, pass rushers. Our depth at the end is kind of low right now as well. You got Bosa, you got Ebukam, and who else? You got Omenahu. I would bring back Jordan Willis, so then you don't need to address that position highly this year. Arden Key, great interior pass rusher. If you can't bring back DJ Jones, I would like to bring back Arden Key. He's probably going to be cheaper. You never know. We'll see. And then my last one, let's see. I would probably go with, and this is going to be funny because I never thought I would say this, but Dante Johnson, the dude.
Leech, the dude, you just can't get rid of him.
You can't get rid of him, and he's not the best, but the dude is reliable. If your guys get hurt, you need someone. This dude's going to step in and be okay. Not great, okay.
Yeah, that's a great point. I totally forgot about Dante Johnson. Yeah, I'd much rather have Dante Johnson than Josh Norman. Tell you that
Exactly.
much. Yeah, I
Some
agree.
other guys I would like to bring back. I think you could get them pretty cheap. Trent Sherfield. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I agree. Sherfield. That dude would pluck balls out of the air. I don't think he dropped many balls this season. Tough, tough passes. He caught them. Good special teams player too. I would bring him back.
And I like the chemistry with the Trey.
Yeah.
I would say his chemistry with Trey was probably second to only Ayuk. So
Yep. Good point. Good point.
I'd look to bring him back. Maybe one of those big D tackles like Givens
Yep.
or Street. If you do lose DJ Jones, I would look to keep one of them very cheap. They both flashed. It's just they didn't get much playing time.
Yep. Good point. You have anything else you want to hit on that?
Um,
Because
yeah, so I
we'll
will.
do it. We can do a deeper dive too. We'll do a deeper dive for everybody on the next episode or in a couple
Yeah,
episodes. Something like that.
so I will say, there was somebody you had said on your list, and there's a reason I wouldn't bring him back. Oh, Tart. So the reason I would not bring back Tart is because did my screen go blurry?
A
Do I
little
look
bit.
blurry? I don't know what's going on. But anyways, I would not bring back Tart. He's probably going to get a decent paycheck, and he is a good player, But I've said for a couple years now, the 49ers do not have that ball hawk or that like a turnover machine in their defensive backfield. And I've been saying this for a couple years. Jimmy Ward kind of he got a lot better this year at creating turnovers. But you remember back in those Seattle days with the Legion of Boom, you had guys that were straight teams were scared to throw because you had guys that are going to fly over and intercept it, cause huge hits, turnovers. I think they could improve back there.
That's fair. I think we have differing opinions on that one, but we can dive into that a little bit later.
Dang, I did go
Or,
blurry.
yeah. All right. I think we're gonna wrap this thing up before we get out of here. Let me get your Super Bowl prediction.
Super Bowl prediction.
I want a score prediction.
Um, I'm going to say 27-23 Bengals.
No,
Just
I will
because I don't
say,
want the Rams to win.
yeah. I will say 31-28 Bengals. I think the Bengals got a magic season going, Joe Burrow. 31-28 Bengals. That's my prediction. Alrighty. I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. We're just starting out, trying to get this thing rolling. We love the 49ers, love talking about them. So you can help us out a little bit. Alrighty. Do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, if you guys do watch our channel and you have any suggestions, any things you want us to talk about, let us know. We're diehards just like you. We're not all going to agree all the time, but if you have something you want to talk about, anyone wants to come on the show, let us know. We're here for
Yep.
you, and we hope you guys are here for us.
Yep. Chop it up. Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in to our inaugural episode. Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Peace.